put yourself back in those days. You've already done a 3-year tour in World War II, because in those days you started serving whenever it was in the war, and you weren't coming home until the war was over. It was none of this 9-month tours, a year tour here and there. It was, you're there for the duration. So you get home, and then you're told, go make nice to the Chinese and go get yourself killed there. How is that going to fly in your family? Probably poorly.
I mean, again, you don't have to send the GIs there. You can just give them. You can just not do an arms embargo on them. And keep
Oh, I
exporting.
think it was so minor. By then, it's too late. The great question is, some people would argue that in 1946, when Marshall tells Chiang Kai-shek to halt his advance. This is when he's doing quite well. And when I mentioned that the terminal point of retreat for the communists was up in Siping, Manchuria, some would argue that Marshall should never have done that. He should have let the nationalists go all the way up, and that would have changed the outcome of the Chinese Civil War. You could make an argument that that might be true. Here's the counter argument. I don't know the answer. If you look at a map of China, or imagine one, Manchuria is way up. It's like a salient into communist territory because it's bordering all the Soviet Union. And then it's got quite a coastline, but the Soviets had blockaded that, so nothing's getting in that way. The only way, given the Chinese railway system, is literally one train line connects Manchuria to South China. So it means Chiang Kai-shek's movements are incredibly predictable. So one argument you could make, and people have, and I don't know the answer, none of us does, is that, hey, that was the big error. So if that's the big error, the mistake, and this is a common one that Americans make, so this is worth talking about, is Americans often don't look at warring parties to understand is if they are primary adversaries, there is no way you're going to make them make nice. So the United States had trouble for years trying to get Pakistanis and Indians to cooperate. And it would want to give aid to both of them and just didn't get it. As long as they're primary adversaries, you aid one, it infuriates the other. And they're never going to cooperate, the two of them. Or I suspect what was going on in Iraq and Afghanistan. So you want to have a democracy and you want to have all the parties represented. Well, if they all want to obliterate each other, the last thing they want to do is have representation of the other side, right? So if you have parties that want to exterminate each other, the idea of getting them to cooperate is impossible. So don't try it. So that would be the lesson from this thing of we kept trying to do a coalition government with the communists and the nationalists. It's a non-starter. But the United States was a very isolationist country and didn't have the attitude of a great power until after World War II. In World War I, we felt dragged into it and these horrible wars, and that being quite irresponsible during the Great Depression and just ignoring everybody else's problems, didn't want to hear about it. And then we get a World War II out of that, and then we rethink that whole proposition.
If you enjoyed this clip, you can watch the full episode here and subscribe for more clips. Thanks.